Okay. Plug in the sound, and then I reload my screen. And then I do my sound check. Okay, we're good. Everything worked. Now we just wait for some people to join us. Okay, see, we got one person popped in. We'll give a minute or two for some people to join us. Check out what's going on today. See what we're up to here. David, how you doing? We're enjoying the rebirth of winter here. It's about 25 degrees and a couple 3 inches of snow on the ground. We had the mildest February I can remember in, probably 20 years, and now March is going to make up the difference. Patrick. So how's everybody doing out there? We got a couple. We'll go ahead and get started here in a minute. Appreciate you all joining me. This is the T350 show. And we've been building out a rifle. We built the last couple of weeks. The first 2 weeks we built out our upper here. Y'all didn't see me. I put the red dot on while we were not on video, but I wanted to get my red dot on there. So, and then last week we got started on our lower, and this week we're going to go ahead and finish this lower out and get this rifle finished. So this week we're doing the fire control group and the buttstock assembly and everything that comes with that. So first thing we're going to do is put together our fire control group. And so we have our trigger, we have our disconnect, we have our hammer. And then to go along with that, we have our hammer spring and our trigger spring. Okay? The first thing we're going to do is put our hammer spring on. And I'm going to show you how these all go together. A lot of guys make mistakes putting the springs on here, and they end up with a gun that'll only single fire or won't fire at all or won't reset. The springs are pretty critical here. So here's what I like to do for putting a spring on, right? I grab my hammer, I lay my spring on top of here just like this, and I hold it with my thumb. Okay? You can see. Right? And then I grab each ear and put it over top of the arm. Now, you don't want your spring behind the hammer. You want it, or in front of the hammer, you want it behind the hammer. Just like so. That's how it should look when it's installed properly. Okay? Now, we also have a disconnect spring. Typically, this is a little spring in your lower parts kit, and it's usually green. They usually dye this green so that you distinguish it from all the rest of them. It's a little larger at one end, a little thinner at the other end. The large end is what goes down into the trigger. You'll see a little pocket in this channel. Right? There's a little round pocket right there. That spring drops into that little round pocket, just like so. Okay. Then you put your disconnect on there. Your disconnect just sits right in there like that. Okay. So then we're going to put on our trigger spring. And again, this is one of them ones where you got to put it on right or it won't work properly. This is what I like to do, right? Position it so that it's in position. Hold it with my thumb. And then put each leg up over. Okay. All right. Now we got our trigger pins. We have our safety selector. And we have the detent and spring that go along with the safety selector. Okay. And the detent for the safety selector is going to be, it's got a little, almost looks like a bullet. Right? It almost looks like a little tiny bullet case. All right. So we're going to take this trigger and drop it down in there. Then we're going to position it so that we can put you may have to finagle it a little bit until you get everything lined up just right. Then you take, oh, I missed the, and it wants to give me a little bit of a hard time. You'll have that. Well, I'm having a little trouble. Okay, there's one. Okay, something's not jiving here, so let's make sure that one, okay, that goes through there, so that's good. And that goes through there, so it must just be me. We'll try again. Well, that pin just does not want to go in there. There it is. Okay. Pin's in. Trigger's functioning. So now we can go ahead, put our safety in, because once you put the hammer in place and push up tension on the trigger, it'll be harder to put the safety in. Okay? Now, we're going to go ahead and you take the two legs right here, you lay them in and across the top of the trigger, and then this is going to be the trickiest part of the whole thing. You would think that the trigger was tricky, but, and you want to, okay. All right. That's the trigger. Now, to put the hold the safety selector in place, you drop that little bullet looking detent down in that hole right there. Okay, there's a hole right there. See it? My finger's pointing at it. You drop that in there. Then you take your pistol grip and you drop that spring right in there. And then put the two together. Take your screw with your star washer. And you tighten that all down. Okay. You can see down in there, right? It might be a little hard to see, but we got the screw down in there and it's all tightened up. Okay, then we can do a function test on our trigger. We place the safety selector on safe and it does not fire. Then we place it on fire and it does fire. Okay, then we go back to the reset. Let it go. It goes up to the sear and then it fires. And then the last check, we should not be able to put it into safe with the hammer fully fired and in the forward position. We should only be able to put it into safe when the hammer's in the reset. Okay. Now, we're going to go ahead and put our buttstock on. That was the fire control group. Pretty easy, all things considered. Okay, so we send out our, look at that, made in USA. Imagine that. Okay, so we send out our tubes capped with the spring inside. So you're going to unscrew the cap and being careful because the spring, right, you think, see? Told you, you got to be careful. I wasn't holding on to the tube tight enough. Okay. And we'll get our end plate and our castle nut out. Okay. And we're going to need our rear takedown pin. Okay. And the detent and spring for that. So we're going to take this pin, place it in the hole with the groove. There's a groove right here facing to the back of the gun. Then we're going to drop the detent in the hole. We're going to put the spring in the hole. Okay. Then we can place this back on our fixture over here. You got me, Eric? You want to come swing the camera over this way? All right. We have our detent, buffer detent, and buffer detent spring. There's a little hole in here. You can see in the threads there, and that buffer detent spring and fits in just like so. Now, we put our castle nut on with the deep grooves. You'll see some little tiny grooves. That's for staking. You'll see some deep grooves. That's for tightening. The deep grooves go on first. And we screw this tube on, or the castle nut on all the way. Then we place the end plate on. You'll see the end plate is got this convex and concave area. Okay? The concave area goes on towards the back of the gun. The convex area, or the protrusion, goes to the front of the gun. Okay, and what that does is that little nub that sticks out mates in here, mates in that pocket, and keeps everything lined up. Okay, so then with that all done, we start the threading process. Okay, I'm going to straighten this up so I can see here a little bit better. Then we're going to push down on the detent and continue to screw the buffer tube in until, and you hear it snap in place. Okay, and when that's in the proper position, it should be just about flush with the back of the upper or lower receiver here. You don't want the buffer tube sticking out beyond, because then your gun won't close properly. Okay? Now, you have this little spring that you need to compress with the end plate, right? So you'll see it right there, and you just kind of slowly push that in. And this should all be pretty much self-aligning if you've done it right. Okay? Now we're going to take our armorer's wrench that is made for the castle nut. And we're going to tighten the castle nut. We're going to put a good oomph on it. Okay, once we're happy with the position and timing of that, we'll look at the back. Okay, it's kinked just a little bit. All right, not quite straight. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen that back up. And I'm going to what I'm looking for is the alignment of this square nub to the center line of the gun. Okay? I'm looking to make sure that that's in line. And that as I'm tightening it, it stays in line. Okay. Now we can put our spring and our buffer in. And that should snap right in and glide right over top of the detent, and then the detent holds it in place. Take our buttstock out. Okay, mil-spec buttstock. It slides over the tube. Then you pull down on that. It's a good fit. You see a lot of them, they rattle. You can hear them. Right. Very little rattle. That's good. Okay. Then the last thing I'm going to do is take a small punch Remember I told you these small grooves on the castle nut are for staking, right? So what I'm going to do then is take my small punch and I'm going to go right in here and I'm going to malform that steel just a little bit on both sides here. Okay, and that ensures that my castle nut can't back out under vibration. Pop our pins out. Nice tight, very little movement. Feels good. That's it. There's your completed rifle, built straight from one of our build kits. So, bonus points if you can stake the third spot. Yeah. It's all the way up underneath here and a little hard to get to. Let's see if I missed any questions here while I was... Hi, Caleb. Triggers are a little confusing at first, but you just got to make sure you get the springs right. The springs are the most important part. The gun will not function properly if the springs aren't in properly. Okay. So yeah, there we are. 4 sessions of about 15 or 20 minutes apiece. Going slow. It took me a little over probably an hour to put this gun together. If I'm just banging one out, I can do it in half an hour, 45 minutes. If I, make sure all my parts are here and all my tools are good, ready to go and set up, I don't have any problem then. So that's now we got. We're going to take this actually to some shows, some shooting shows that we do, and show guys, hey, this is the rifle you build right out of one of our kits. I like my stock back a little bit. Turn my red dot on. Deploy my front sight. Yeah, it's pretty close. I think it looks good there. I like that. So my co-witness is good. So that's it. That's a completed rifle. How easy it is to build your own AR. Forgetting to put the tiny spring. Oh yeah, yeah. You forget to put that disconnect spring in on underneath the trigger or underneath the hammer, in between the hammer and the disconnect. You will realize it right away. She'll go brap on you. Dump a few rounds. So let me turn this back off so I don't forget. All right, that's it. That's building an AR. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. We'll have a complete video out before too long of the complete assembly process. Next week, we're going to take a look at how to lubricate this thing and get it ready to shoot. We're going to do a headspace check. I'm going to show you how to use headspace gauges and check the headspace. I've never had a gun not pass headspace check, but it's, hey, we're making a weapon here, and there's a little 55,000 psi explosion happening right here, just in front of your face. You want to make sure that everything's right. You don't want that explosion happening when if the headspace isn't right, bad things can happen. So we're going to check the headspace. I'm going to show you how to do that, and we're going to show you how to do a little pre-break-in, manual break-in, and how to properly lubricate this thing to get ready to take to the range and test fire. So that's it. That's it for this week. I appreciate you guys joining me. Okay. .50 Beowulf. Yeah, I haven't built one of them. That's a big gun. Okay, put all my tools back where they belong. Make sure. Okay. All right. That's it. Appreciate you guys joining me this week to finish off this gun. And hope you'll join me next week when we get into the safety aspects of checking everything to make sure it functions properly before we actually put bullets in this thing and send them downrange. So see you guys next week. Remember, you don't have to be an expert to build your own AR, to upgrade it, or maintain it. We're here to help you do that. Thanks.